The superannuation and the savings clause are the two really, gnarly ones.
Yes.
And then we have these wonderful organisations that individuals have around the world, like Karen Alpert. She started Fix the Tax Treaty, did an amazing job there, trying to lobby the government and, let the public know. Then she, I think, was one of the founders also of Seat Now, which is Stop Extraterritorial American Taxation.
Yep.
Seatnow.org. And John Richardson and Laura Snyder are also founders of that. They're doing amazing work. And the Association of American Residents Overseas. And they've also been lobbying, but they've been lobbying for 50 years, AARO. 50 years. And yes, they've done a marvellous job of, lobbying and putting their ideas forward to the government and to educating people, but we still haven't got these changes. I'll tell you what I'd love to see. If we have something like DOGE, right? If we had some people like, say, for example, Ken Griffin of Citadel, he thinks the Australian superannuation system is good, and he thinks it would be something that we should look at for the United States. Wouldn't it be great if somebody like him and maybe Jamie Dimon and their teams of people could come in and say, look, we recognise that politicians are so busy dealing with so many other things. They don't have an appetite for helping expats around the world who really are going through all of this stress every year and financial burden. How about we come in and we look at how we could make some tweaks, right? Make some tweaks, and maybe it's not the residency-based taxation, or maybe they do the numbers on that. The government needs to know, as before they could even think about passing that or any part of that, is what is it going to cost us in taxes? How much are we going to lose? Well, how about they come in with their brainiacs, like Elon Musk did with his people, and figure that out, and maybe come up with some suggestions to help tweak the biggest burdens, as I say, the superannuation savings clause, so that the government has all the data there and it's not such a big deal and they can then go ahead and vote on it. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
It would be very good to get a system that, I guess it's a question of what people think the intentions of the system are. You would think if the system is meant to be working and fair, then yeah, you would think these are the outcomes, just as you're saying, Latife, that would be fair, that people are not specifically being penalized for choosing to live overseas as a citizen, even if it's not getting rid of citizenship-based taxation, but just making it so you don't have to spend a fortune to get your tax return done.
Yeah.
Or, Australia is probably not the best example of this, but people who live in lower tax jurisdictions around the world, where they're saying, okay, U.S. wins some, the U.S. loses some, but, there should be an ability for people to move overseas, and just like every other country on earth, they pay their taxes where they live rather than where they're citizens, as a general rule.
Yeah.
And it's obvious. The problem is that citizenship-based taxation from the U.S. came about from basically a post-Civil War, U.S. Civil War thing. It was put into place in I think it was the late 1860s or early 1870s, because there's a number of soldiers from the U.S. who moved overseas because they were so sick of what had been going on, and they said, no, we want you to still have to pay to the U.S. And thus it was, and nobody's ever done anything about it for 150 years.